What is up, guys, and welcome back to Star Wars Wednesday. Today I'm going to be talking about Mandalorians. Now, I've always had a personal affinity for Mandalorians. Like, the armors always looked super cool, and I've already talked about this one right here in the Bounty Hunters video. But I have a ton of other Mandalorians, so I want to talk about those today. So first up, I have this light blue Mandalorian here. Now, this came with 3 other ones. It came in a battle pack in either 2020 or 2021. I don't remember exactly what year, but it came out in recent years. As you can see, this one has gray clothes on him and this light blue sort of armor to him. Now, I love the attention to detail in all of these like scratchings. You can see like the metal shining through the paint underneath a lot of these. I like how the printing on these legs are different for each leg. It's not just the same thing but mirrored. This helmet's also pretty cool. I like this like purple splotch that comes up and around everything. Makes it look really cool, and like it gives it like a depth to it. It kind of pops out. Now, this one came with this like dark greenish cape. The colors don't pick up super well on camera, but it does have this back printing underneath that continues the back armor piece from here. Now, these Mandalorians did not come with jetpacks. Most of the other ones I'm going to be talking about did. One thing that is a little bit disappointing is I wish these had some arm printings on them. I think that would really make these stand out a lot more if they had them, but it still works without it. It's not a necessity. It would just add a lot to this, I feel. Now up next I have this green one here. This is one of the other ones that came in that same set. And one thing I like about this one is how this cloth piece that comes on his legs continues and starts from like the bottom of the chest here. It really makes these minifigures a lot better when they have this like flow to them. When something from the chest piece continues to the waist and then down to the legs, it really adds like a depth of detail and makes it feel more realistic. Now this one actually has a dark green torso. It's kind of hard to see, but it does actually have a dark green torso. And the rest of it is this sort of navy blue color with these prints on him. And obviously his armor itself is green, and his helmet is green, and it has some blue colorings on it. Once again, I like how it has all these like dings and scratch marks on it. This one here is an actual scratch on the print. That's just how this one came when I got it. It does have this dark brown cape this time, and the printing on the back is kind of what you would expect. Continues the belts for the waist, and just has this standard armor piece on the back here. And this one did also come with this antenna here on the helmet. Now up next, I have this sort of orangey brown Mandalorian. Once again, this came in the same battle pack that the other 2 did. The biggest thing about this one that's different is that it doesn't have any leg printing, which is really disappointing, honestly. I don't know why they would give the other ones this, but not this brown one here. I know sometimes they don't put print on the darker color legs. I don't know why exactly they do this. I feel like when it's a dark color, it should also have a leg printing, especially if the other ones in the pack had it. I don't understand why this one doesn't. But besides that, I like the coloring. I don't have many minifigures that have this like weird orangey brown color to them. And this helmet is pretty cool with these patterns. Almost look like ears are like supposed to be printed on there. Once again, also has this dark brown cape here. And the back printing is pretty similar to the rest of them. Really just a color swap here and no leg printing. And the last one from that battle pack is this one right here. It's a weird color combination, but honestly, I think it's pretty cool. I like how this chest piece here is this sort of tan, and it has these like grayish blue arms, and how it has this also like orange color in like the chest here and on this helmet. And once again, the chest piece here has this printing that goes into the waistband, that goes into the legs, really adds a little bit of flow to it. Now this one's chest armor is actually different shaped than the others, as you can see. It doesn't have this like second under part to it, which is cool that they make these all kind of stand out from each other. As you can see, once again, this one also has some intentional like dings here, and it came with this antenna. And this time it has a black cape. Now these capes are actually not like the standard cape size. They're actually thinner because they're not supposed to be like an entire cloak. They're just supposed to be like a little cape that comes down in the back only. And once again, the back printing is what you would expect. It's very similar to the other 3 here. Now up next is this Mandalorian right here. Now this came in a different battle pack, and this is more based off of the look that they had from the Clone Wars TV show. It pretty accurately nails the look that they have from that show, and as you can tell because of the way there's no like leg printings here or waist printing or anything, this is a much older one. And at the time, this was super cool to have another Mandalorian for me. I always liked this minifigure. In retrospect, compared to the other ones, it does look a bit kind of generic and bland. I grew up with these, so I've always liked these a lot. Now, it just has this dark navy blue chest piece with this nice armor printing on it, and blue arms, legs, gray hands, and everything. And it has this headpiece here, you know, with the blue outline from the visor and these like gray little highlights and everything. And this one does come with a jetpack piece that goes underneath the head. Now, underneath underneath, this does not have any back printing on it, but that's fine. When it's completely covered up like that, it doesn't really take away from it. It would be nice if it had it, but considering the time period, they weren't always putting back printings underneath on these. Now, in the Clone Wars Jedi episodes, I've talked about how a lot of the face prints from the Clone Wars stuff can have like enlarged eyes and mouths and can look a little off or creepy. And most of the time I disagree with them. It might just be because I grew up with them, but this is one of the cases where I did grow up with it and I agree that it looks creepy. Now, all of these from this battle pack have this for a face. Now, it's not supposed to look like any specific Mandalorian, so it does have this, like, it's just supposed to be this generic sort of head for all of them. But this one has always stuck out to me as creepy. I can't describe exactly what's off about it. It just doesn't quite feel right. Just similar to the other Clone Wars, the face is just like bigger and the eyes are more bulbous, I guess. The head print is definitely kind of the weakest part of this here. This next minifigure came out in a set from 2021, and he is only known as Mandalorian Loyalist. Now, this is based off of their look from Season 7 of Star Wars The Clone Wars, and this minifigure is pretty awesome. It kind of has like an inverted look to the other one, whereas that one was blue with gray armor. This one's kind of this gray with blue armor. I like the dark silver here on the helmet and on this jetpack here. And this chest piece has a lot of like the scuff marks, like these scratches. And this has a lot of like those scratch prints on the chest piece of the armor here. It doesn't pick up super well on camera. But once again, this also connects the torso print to the waist print and down to the legs here. Even has some little toe printings at the bottom, which was a nice touch. Even the blue printing on this helmet is pretty well designed. It doesn't have a ton to it. It does have this little extra print up top that the other one didn't have, so it just adds a little bit more depth to this character. And this one does have a back printing. Pretty standard for what you would expect. Most of these Mandalorians that have a back printing will have something very similar to this, just like the back armor. But it doesn't need to be super detailed because it's always going to be like underneath the jetpack anyways. Up next is one of my favorite Mandalorian minifigures, and that is Bo-Katan Kryze. Once again, Bo-Katan has been in a lot of the Clone Wars episodes. This is more based off of her look from Clone Wars Season 7, because it came in the same set as the last one I talked about. The attention to detail here, especially on this helmet, is super cool. This nails the look on her helmet that she has, and it comes with the antenna as well. The leg printing here is also pretty well detailed. It's got some toes to it as well. This minifigure really does stand out. This one also has a face underneath the helmet here, and it comes with the hairpiece you can give her. It's pretty accurate to her look. I like how you can see this like headband thing that she has. And this does have dual faces to her, and this jetpack is also this like shiny dark silver instead of just like a standard gray. Once again, pretty standard back printing, but it doesn't need to be super detailed, honestly. Now, my really only complaint here is the jetpack, but just personally, she looks better when she has her like blue jetpack. That might just be me. But the other two minifigures that came in this pack had the dark silver one. So I can understand why they would just give her that same one, but that's really the only complaint I have about it. Besides that, this minifigure is super well detailed and really nice. Now, the last minifigure that came in the same set as the last two is Gar Saxon. Now, this here might be my favorite Mandalorian minifigure. Now, this here is definitely top 3 Mandalorian minifigures that I have. Once again, it is based on a Season 7 Mandalorian, one who is loyal to Darth Maul, hence why he has these horns on the helmet and has this overall red and black look. And this minifigure looks so different from every other single one that I have. It's one of the only two that have a like different helmet piece from the rest, which is super awesome. The attention to detail on the red printings and everything, even down to like little tiny yellow scratches and everything on this. Even these legs here have a ton of attention to detail on them. It still has the same dark silver jetpack, but this time also the rest of the armor and like the minifigure itself has the same like dark silver folds to it with the other printings on it. Now, this one does have Gar Saxon's head. It's kind of this generic face, but I mean, it looks like him from the show, so it doesn't need to be anything different. This is one of the few I'm talking about today that has a different back print. Now, the rest have had like this same general shape, but as you can see, this one has these nice black stripes in them and everything, once again resembling the look of Darth Maul, and it just makes it look really cool when it's all put together. This is easily one of my favorite, if not my favorite, Mandalorian minifigure. Now, these are all the ones I have that came in battle packs or Clone Wars series stuff. And next, we'll be moving on to the Mandalorian show minifigures. So up first, I have this Din Djarin. Now, Din Djarin is the main character in The Mandalorian. He is the Mandalorian. His helmet has this nice dark silver, and this really nails his look from from the first couple of episodes. I like how each of these legs here have different printing on them, and just a sort of like reddish orange color to his armor. Even down to like the straps and the buckles and everything he has is pretty well detailed. And once again, this character does come with a cape. This one is this sort of darker gray cape, and there is a back printing on this, pretty similar to the rest, just with this sort of strap on it, continuing from this one here. Pretty standard for what you would expect. It really nails his look from this series. Now up next, I have this version of Din Djarin. This is his look after he gets his revamped armor, and it looks so cool. Once again, I like how each of the legs is different. They didn't just do the same copy, because that's not how his armor actually looks. And I like this lighter silver color to his armor as well. And this one is the first one that has arm printing. As you can see, they add like the flamethrower and like the grapple sort of designs in his like shoulder pads and everything. Even on this side, you can see he has the Mudhorn signet welded on and everything. It's just so well detailed for the arm printings, and it just goes to show how, like, especially like these three here that came out about the same year, just this little attention to detail, even if it's not like as complex in detail or like specific, any arm printing in general, especially on these Mandalorians, just goes a long way and adds a lot of depth to the characters. Now you can even see his gray cape actually comes over in like the front underneath the silver armor print there. And once again, it has back printing pretty much the same as before. Now it has this brown color and this silver armor color to it. Now I do have one more version of Din Djarin, and it's pretty much exactly the same, but I still wanted to mention it. Now there was a set that came out, the Mandalorian Armor Forge, and that came with this version of Din Djarin, where it's the same exact chest piece, legs, arms, and everything. Except this time there was no cape and it had this jetpack. Same standard dark gray as the rest. I kind of wish it was the same silver as his helmet, but it doesn't matter a ton. But I understand in the year that they released this, they released all of these here with the darker silver. So I can understand why they wouldn't want to give it a completely different mold color and everything. But on the other hand, it would look a lot cooler with it. Now, another minifigure that came in that set was the Armorer herself. Now, as you notice, this Mandalorian has the same exact helmet mold as Gar Saxon did, except this time she has this gold helmet with these black spikes. This pretty well nails her look from the show. I love the gold helmet and everything. Since she doesn't have as much armor, I do like how they did still put that attention to detail, how she really only has this like chest piece armor here, and the rest is kind of like a clothy material, and even on the back she has her like fur cloak or whatever she has in the back. I don't know what you would call it. Not the most like interesting one to look at necessarily, but this helmet piece really makes it stand out from the rest. Now the last one that came in that armorer pack is Paz Vizsla. Now this minifigure is pretty badass. I love this minifigure a lot. It has this sort of like light blue color to it, almost gray, which is pretty sick. The helmet has a ton of detail on it with all these like aged scratch marks and everything on it, and even this like dent up here. And as you can tell, it has this like chest piece here, which is supposed to make his armor look more bulky, which is perfect because he is like a bigger build than the other Mandalorians I've talked about. So I do love how it has that on there. Even has the Mythosaur skull printed on the side of it, which is pretty awesome. And he did come with this like back piece, which is like his jetpack, and also his gun is supposed to be like holstered on there. But yeah, I like how even underneath there's like this nice chest print, and the leg printing has a ton of these little lines in it, which really just make this minifigure pop and vibrant. It even has the same printing that this one does, but underneath. So for whatever reason you don't like this, or you don't want this on, it still has like that same look to it. It even has this back printing here, which is different from just like a jetpack on. It has this armor. So if you don't want this like giant chest piece on or the jetpack on, you can still see something underneath. This is one of my favorite Mandalorian minifigures. It's pretty sick, and I love the amount of detail it has on it. Now, the last couple of Mandalorians I'm going to show you are all the same character. And if you know anything about Star Wars, you know who this guy is. And that is Boba Fett. This is sort of one of my older Boba Fetts. He's a little bit stiff in the legs and everything, and it definitely has aged. As you can see, it's a big difference from this like very classic look, whereas this time the jetpack, like every other Mandalorian, is a separate piece and not just connected to the head, and the helmet is a more accurate shape. I like how he even has like the Wookiee fur tassel that comes down, and he came with this brown sort of cape piece here that dangles off the side. Now, the only thing about this minifigure This minifigure also noticeably has no leg printing and no arm printing. The arm printing makes a bit more sense. That wasn't as standard of a thing back then. The fact that it has no leg printing is a little bit disappointing, and there is no back printing underneath this jetpack. I have checked. Now, another thing about this minifigure, as much as I like it, that is kind of disappointing, and that is the face. Now, obviously, the face that I have here is kind of worn down. This is an older minifigure, but it doesn't really look like Boba Fett. This has also been a time where you've never seen adult Boba Fett without his helmet on. You saw what Jango Fett looked like, and I guess they maybe kind of tried to base it a little bit off of him, but I never really thought it looked super accurate. But it was at least a nice touch back when I was a kid to have a face to go along with. So it's not the end of the world. Also, this helmet is really well detailed with all these like yellow marks here for like his kill counter or his bounty counter, whatever they are. And I like how his armor still definitely looks worn. Now, the next Boba Fett I'm going to talk about is pretty similar to the last one. However, this one has a green cape and this one has leg printing. Now, once again, the helmet is pretty much the exact same. It is a slightly different green color, but I'm sure on camera I won't even pick up. And the leg and toe printing here is pretty cool. I like how they still put the attention to detail that he has yellow knee pads. They're just these little pockets here. Once again, there's no back printing under this, but that's fine when it comes to a lot of these. They don't always need it. It would be nice if it was there, but it's not the end of the world. Now, finally, the last LEGO Mandalorian minifigure I have is Boba Fett from the Book of Boba Fett and Mandalorian. Even though I have a couple of slight complaints about it, it's still definitely my favorite Boba Fett minifigure. Now, in the Mandalorian and the Book of Boba Fett, he has black clothing underneath instead of like the gray or like blue ones that he has from before. So that's why this minifigure has a lot darker of a color. But I love the arm printing here. It reminds me of the one from Din Djarin. This time he has this yellow shoulder pad and the dark maroon red wrist gauntlets. And even on this one has the detail of the Mythosaur skull. I love how his clothing even drapes over the front of his armor here, as you can see. And now he has those red numbers that are supposed to be there. There are no actual numbers on there. It's just a red bar that goes across, but it's a nice attention to detail. And the leg printing is super cool. The waist is the second half of like the top belt of the torso. And once again, he has the yellow like knee gauntlets. Even has like a little slot for the rockets that shoot out of them. And even has some toe print. Since this is based off of Boba Fett where you can see his face and he's played by Tamora Morrison, as you can see, his face looks a lot like him. Now, as I talked about in one of the clones episodes, the clones have been given this look that more accurately looks like Tamora Morrison, who played Jango Fett and Boba Fett recently. So this face is supposed to look like him. However, he does have a lot of like skin scarring in this show, so it has a lot more of that on it. But other than that, it looks pretty much the same. And I like how all the clones now are starting to look similar and also look like Tamora Morrison. And this one does have some back printing here, pretty standard what you would expect. Just his like darker green armor and this black on here. Now, the one complaint that I have about this minifigure, and it's still a pretty small one because it looks super cool without it, is his armor in general is supposed to be this darker color here that's on the chest. Even the helmet and the jetpack are supposed to be that, like this sort of darker green. Now, the only complaint that I have is that I wish the helmet piece was that darker green. I can understand that maybe it wouldn't look as well with like the black and the maroon because they're already kind of hard to tell apart here. Personally, I would have just liked to see it. It would have definitely been a lot more accurate, but this minifigure is still super cool without it and definitely one of my favorites. So that is every Mandalorian minifigure that I own. Now, there are some Mandalorians, obviously, that I don't have. I don't have Pre Vizsla, who has the Darksaber and has a custom, like, cape piece on it. And also, most notably, I don't have a Jango Fett. And that's really disappointing that they haven't made, like, a modern Jango Fett in years. I was kind of hoping that the Book of Boba Fett would have some scenes with Jango Fett, and that they'd be able to make a more updated look to Jango Fett, so I'd actually be able to have one. I don't have one, and they're pretty expensive to buy, so I can't really just buy one. But other than that, I still love Mandalorians, and I clearly have an affinity for them with like the sheer number of them that I own. But that is all for today. A bit longer of an episode, but I will see you guys all tomorrow.
Farted on the track. Farted. Oh yeah. Yeah! We love that Dumpster Kid video. We all do! For more, like and subscribe. Hit it! Turn on the post notifications. Do it! Even when you're on vacation, you'll get